manifesting and being positive and believing that you are good enough, that you do deserve things. Because, yeah, I mean, that was the hardest thing for me. And it took me so long. But in just 2 short years, my life has changed so much.
Welcome to the place where we hear empowering stories of transformation and then we turn that into art that reminds us to be great. I am your host and artist, Jessica James, and this is the I Empower podcast. Thank you so much, Joylyn, for being on today. I'm so honored to talk to you and hear more about your story. I always like to tell my listeners and my followers where I find my guests. And we actually had the opportunity to meet each other in a class that we were both a part of. And you touched a little bit on your story, and I was immediately drawn in. I think what you're doing is incredible and much needed. And I love the fact that we are in a community together, like we're local to each other. And so yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you and hear more about the amazing things that you're doing. So I'll have you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you.
Hey, Jessica, thank you so much for having me. I'm definitely honored to be here. And meeting you was obviously meant to be. So I'm very excited for the things that have been happening in our community. So, and that's kind of why I'm here. So, yeah, that's why I'm so excited. My online store is called The Funk, and our slogan is Unity Through Diversity. So basically, bringing people from all backgrounds together to create beautiful art and make basically beauty out of pain. And I don't talk about my story a lot because I am trying to focus on the positive right now. However, I do share it with people that want to know. So, since that's what we're doing today, yeah. Um, I guess, like most people, my story starts, before we're even born and it goes on long after we're gone. But for me personally, my first encounter with domestic violence was at the age of 4. And so, um, you know, my parents had divorced, and my mom, or they were going through their divorce, and my mom moved in with her boyfriend and took us with her. And we had fried chicken for dinner one night, and I was asked to wash my hands before I went to clean my room. And I was 4 years old. I forgot. Went and started cleaning my room, thought I was doing a good job. And her boyfriend came in and started screaming at me, and realized I hadn't washed my hands, got up to go do it. And I was sent to his room instead and told to remove all of my clothes, which obviously I did not want to do, so I refused. And then he grabbed a belt off of his belt rack and was like, "Take them off now, or I'm just going to start hitting you." So I did what I was told and laid face down on the bed. And he started, I guess, with an appropriate spanking, but then quickly got out of control, and I couldn't tolerate it anymore and rolled over. Was told to roll back over and refused again, and so started getting hit on my front side, and then just was rolling back and forth because I couldn't take any more pain until it finally stopped. And then a few minutes went by. He realized, "Oh, you can't see my hands," realized what he'd done. And oh, it was on slow motion, sorry. Realized what he had done, and ran me a warm bath, got me my robe, put it in the dryer, apologized for everything, um, and when and asked me not to tell my mom. Of course, first thing I did when she came home is tell her, because at that point I guess still believed she cared. And she told me she told me it was probably my fault and to go to bed. So I cried myself to sleep that night, and thinking that was the worst day of my life. But after my dad got custody, he got a girlfriend a couple years later, and for 10 years she did similar things. So it's been a long road. It's been a long road to healing, and it took almost twice as long to heal as it did to go through it. So now I am 40 years old, but I have my store, and I'm here to, I guess, be an inspiration for other people that maybe have gone through similar struggles. And because I kind of, I guess, because when you're in that life, you go through so many things because you are in that negative cycle. Um, but learning from that is amazing, and learning how to help others either who are going through it or prevent them from even having to go through it if they're willing to listen to you and not think they need to learn from their own mistakes. But that's hard. That's hard for all of us. That was, I mean, my biggest thing. You just got to be positive. And it's like, you don't know anything about it. You don't know what I'm dealing with. And now here I am in this realm of positivity and changing my mindset and realizing how much longer I tortured myself that I didn't need to. And that's been the most amazing thing, is healing from what I did to myself, because what other people did really, I mean, it affected me obviously, but I guess when you're in survival mode, you don't let those things weigh down on you. You just have to get through it to get to the next thing. And I've done that because I never thought I would even be 40, but here I am. And I mean, honestly, when I look back, the things I've accomplished in these 40 years are pretty amazing. I mean, I've been working since I was 6 years old. So I think I have, some advice to offer people, and hopefully more people will be reaching out soon so that I can help them.
Most definitely. Thank you so much, Joylyn, for sharing that story with us. There's so much that I want to talk to you about, and really just kind of diving into how you have taken your experiences as a child, and you're using that in your adult life to help others and really create this community of strength and positivity. I did some research on you before we hopped on the call, and like you said earlier, you've created a community of unity through diversity. And I think that is such a beautiful thing. And I wish there was so much more of that around, but definitely the spark that you have there is incredible. And I wanted to touch too on one thing that you said when you talked about kind of packing away the traumas that we experience at a younger age. And then, a lot of times we want to not revisit that and not talk about it because it's the easier thing to do. But, through this podcast and a lot of the things that I've learned through speaking with therapists and as well as people who have lived experiences, we realize that addressing those and really processing what happened to us is really important to the healing process. And then using that voice that you gain from that to help others. And I think that that's what you're doing by sharing your story as well as creating what you are creating. And so I want to talk about what inspired you to start this online community. And you guys do like vintage like clothing. I mean, one of the things that you said in the meeting that we had together that stuck out to me was taking something old or what may be considered old and making that new, and how that's kind of a reflection of your journey and the things that you experienced and creating a newness out of it. So talk to me about that.
So, like I said, I actually have been working since I was 6 years old. And so I guess it's kind of just, I always been my destiny, and something that, going through what I've gone through, I just always knew there were other people. And I guess that's what helped me survive, is knowing other people were going through those experiences and seeing the inspirational people that had gone through those experiences and were doing so much to change the world. Like it was just clear to me that what's happening to you does not define you. So I always, like I said, I was surviving until I could get to a place where I could share with people in a way that's beneficial. And growing up, I did, well, not before I was 18 because law enforcement and all, but after I turned 18, I did talk to people. And those are the people that gave me the courage to actually get stronger and to heal. And, had been through the things and are doing what I want to do now, that gave me that empathy and gave me that guidance and told me that I deserved more. And that's why I guess the community is so important, because nobody can do anything by themselves. Even the richest person out there that says, oh, I put in all the hard work and I did this all by myself. At some time, somebody you don't even know did something for you that you don't know about.
Yes.
Like there are so many great, amazing people out there that will secretly do good without getting any recognition. And that, I guess, again, it just inspires me. So that's kind of my goal, is to spread as much positivity as I can while I'm here. And, you know, not necessarily under my name, but under the Funk vision, you know, and yeah, the Funk is obviously vintage.
Yeah.
Yeah, vintage. It's 70s. If you get it, you get it. So that's kind of where, you know, I'm learning this marketing stuff, and it's like, ooh, who's your target market? And it's like people who understand what the Funk is.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty much it. If you understand what you're looking at, you understand it. And so yes, we do have vintage clothing, and most of the clothing is from my modeling over the past 20 years. So I do, I guess, like kind of the punk rock crafts. So the scissor cutting and shoelaces, not anything seamstress or super technical, but I customize clothes in that way. And so that's where they get their second chance. And then the vintage clothes, obviously people are just always going to love vintage. So, I mean, those, I feel like, and it's funny because they are so classic, and it brings new life every time somebody puts it on and takes you back in time while being modernized. It just, I feel like it just carries that vibe across. And again, that's what I want the Funk to be. Ideally, I will have cashiers at every booth that represent a different era. So if you are into the 70s, when you go into the 70s room to go shopping, your cashier is going to be wearing bell bottoms and, you know, disco clothes and just super, super funky. And if you're going into the 50s room, you know, she's going to look like Jackie O and you know, things like that. So in my big picture, yeah, that's the major idea. So, but as far as the community and bringing people together, obviously, yeah, I don't have a lot of money with the way that I grew up. So anytime I can bring people together to create without it costing me anything, and they are having fun and enjoying themselves. And I guess that's, you know, the great thing about being creatives, as you know, starving artists, that's what we do. So, you know, it's never about the money. It's just about bringing beauty into the world. And if people want to pay us for that, then we gladly accept that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just about bringing people together, and these people are also creatives, obviously, so they provide stuff for my online store or services. I refer all of my friends online for free. I don't charge anybody for advertising on my website or anything like that. So yeah, it's just genuinely about bringing community together and providing healing and showing people that, yeah, you can be different and you can still be amazing. And our differences are what make us amazing. And I find it funny that anybody thinks there's any kind of purebred anything at this point in life. It's like, we're all amazing and special, and we all have a bunch of unique characteristics. I mean, we're not Stepford wives. You can't program us. We are who we are.
I love that. So. I love that. That's so awesome. I mean, I am a vintage, like you could see back here, I've got some mid-century furniture, and you know, if you looked at totally in my studio, you would be like, oh my gosh, it looks like maybe like the 70s threw up in here. So I am totally, you know, fangirling over here for that. And I've always had that like inside of me. Even at a young age, I was always drawn to the older things that maybe people, I felt like maybe people, the items, I can think, you know, going to flea markets and in thrift stores and being drawn to the things that I thought maybe not everybody else would like. And I wanted that. I wanted to create that. I wanted to take that home with me. I wanted to take the unwanted home with me. And so,
yes, the special and unique.
yes. And so I love that. So did you always feel like you had this drive inside of you to create something that is unique for yourself? I'm always interested to hear creatives' stories and how they came about to be where they are. And so, and what you're doing is so unique. I'm wondering where this came from.
Yeah. So like I said, looking back and realizing all my experiences, the first job that I had when I was 6, after my parents' divorce, my dad got a little apartment. And so he would come home from work and put his change in a cup. And then there was a friend that had a yard sale in one of the other apartments, and she would always be selling her doll clothes. So eventually the change cup ran out of change. So I was like, oh my gosh, how do I get more change? So I went out in the front yard and started picking the flowers at the apartment complex and selling them to the people that live there. Wow. For 5 cents and 10 cents. So I would sell one flower for 5 cents or a whole bundle for 10 cents. And so, yeah, I guess it was just completely natural for me. It was like, oh, this is how you make money. Like, you just go out and sell things. And obviously with that, I met a bunch of different kinds of people just in my apartment complex that I never would have talked to if I hadn't needed money. Because, yeah, I'm very much an introvert. And so it's,
yeah, me too.
Even doing this right now is, I'm like, oh my gosh, my heart is pumping. I'm on a video. This is so weird. But yeah, I mean, I did it because I needed money and my dad didn't have it and my mom had put him through hell. So I knew I needed to help even at 4 years old, or 6 years old. Well, I knew at 4 years old because she had done bad things before that. But by 6 years old, I knew I needed to help my dad make money if we were going to get through life. But also, I wanted doll clothes. So I sold these flowers and kept the change cup full and, supported my friend who was selling her doll clothes. And so that's really where it all began. And that's also where his girlfriend got the idea to put me out selling candy for 10 years. So for 10 years, I went door to door selling candy. And again, it's easy when it's something people want. I'm not a salesperson, but you walk in with something delicious in your hand and people go, ooh, what's that? How much is it? Here you go. Like, you don't even have to try. And then if you're, I don't know, a quirky little girl on a skateboard, that might help you a little bit. For some people, other people are like, oh, that punk rocker, get her out of here. But, for some people, they were like, oh, that's so cool, And so, I rode a skateboard around town selling peanut brittle at 8 years old. So, yeah, I broke a lot of candy, but you can't fit a whole candy in your mouth, so it worked out.
Yeah, I love that.
But
That's so awesome.
Yeah, I just met literally millions of more people doing that. And so all of those people from all over the world owning businesses and business owners that, again, took the time to talk to me, to see me, to get to know me like you are, which, again, it's great to be seen and to be heard and to be able to share your story with people that want to hear it. And so, it's the big difference, because I do know when I was still hurting and kind of would just talk about it just to talk about it, the reactions I got from people were unexpected, because I kind of just thought everybody went through these things. And some people would cry when I would talk about things. And I was like, I'm sorry. So, I learned not to just blurt things out and to only share when it was appropriate to share or when people needed to hear it. So that's the other thing too, is when you're hurting and you're angry, you do things that maybe cause more issues for yourself, and not as a blame thing, but just as a realization thing.
Right.
So,
and I think too that's where, when we decide to share our stories and the things that we've been through, I always talk about how it's really important that we find those safe spaces where we can feel safe, I guess is the best word to say, where we feel safe communicating with. When you started to, so you've always kind of been open with your story when you were younger. Did you get to a point where and then you mentioned, some of the reactions that you were getting, was it that made you feel like you needed to kind of bottle that in more? I know, because one of the things that I like to talk about is the importance of sharing your story, but in the safe spaces with safe friends or safe people who are not going to, who know how to handle and process information like that.
Right. And again, for me, balance is really important. And that's, I mean, with everything that I do, that's a big thing in my life because I have to maintain balance because I always have so much going on. So I guess it was realizing that when people ask you how you're doing, not all of them actually want the truth.
Right.
And so judging what response a person is looking for. And so just honing my skills on, yeah, when, first of all, yes, it was safe to share because, yeah, the first time I got married, I shared with my husband because he was my husband and I thought I was safe. And he reenacted multiple traumas that I shared with him before we got divorced, and including strangling me like my stepmother had done. So, and his daughter was home that time and she was 4 years old and about to, go through the same life I had gone through. So I left. So, and that was at 24. So, 20 years later, yeah, I had to move back in with my dad and start all over again. So just balance, just knowing when and who to share with and who you can truly trust and who is a genuinely good person that's just not going to do something horrible like that. And yeah, who you have to be careful with.
Yeah.
And it is unfortunate because, yeah, it does affect other relationships too when you have to go through, I guess, making the wrong judgment on somebody. So.
Yeah. Well, I do want to highlight the fact that, you were able to leave that situation. And I am thankful that you recognized a pattern there and decided that that was not the path that you wanted to take. And I know sometimes it can take a lot out of us as adults to go back home or to leave a tough situation like that. But I just want to give you praise and high fives for doing that. I think it's so important that people hear those stories of, leaving those tough situations and not staying in them because it's easy. It seems easier, or you think that you're just going to be able to manage that. But, really getting into a safe environment is so important physically and mentally. And so thank you for sharing that as well, because I really wish people would share those stories so that if they ever felt like they were in a situation where I don't want to have to go back home, like sometimes that's the safe decision to make, and it may be tough in the moment, but it's much needed for, mental and physical safety.
Yeah. And I'm very blessed. My stepdaughter, actually, I reached out to her mom once she turned 18 because she had posted, and she's beautiful and successful and amazing, plays violin, is an artist, just had blue hair just like I had when I was her age, just all these amazing things. And so I reached out to her mom just to, I don't know if you remember me. I just want to say I'm so glad she's okay, and I'm so proud of her, and I'm so glad you guys are back together and she got away from her dad and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And her mom was like, yeah, of course she remembers you, and 5 minutes later sent me a friend request.
Aww.
So we're now Facebook friends,
Yay.
15 years later. So yeah, I mean, it's good to verify that you did the right thing, and she did get a better life because of that. Didn't go through what I went through. So yeah, it's definitely something, I guess, I do like to share because it is important. And I, have 3 younger siblings and 2 of them are sisters. So yeah, I'm trying to impress that upon them too. And that's the unfortunate part of our situation is it is a cycle. And if you don't break it, it is going to keep going. And they now have children. So that's kind of my biggest challenge right now is obviously fixing things for the people that are closest to, or not fixing them, but helping them realize that they deserve better and life can be better. But it does take hard work. It's not just a magic solution, it takes a lot. And but you can't get the help until you're ready for it. And that's why, I'm reaching out and helping strangers and people who are willing and ready for accepting the help and putting in the work right now. So
Hello, beautiful. I just wanted to pop in here really quick and remind you that if you love what you're hearing and you want to hear more of it, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss next week's episode of I Empower. And if you're feeling extra generous and you would like to give us a review, we would greatly appreciate it. Those help bump us in the algorithm so that more people are able to find these empowering stories to help them. Also, don't forget to check out the art that goes along with today's episode. You can do so at iempower.club or on Instagram at @IEmpowerClub. And if you personally feel connected to the story and the art and you would like to purchase a limited edition print that goes along with it, you can do so on our website. As a reminder, all of the art sales go to support the podcast and help us continue this mission each week of bringing you empowering stories. All right, back to the show. I know you mentioned cycles, and that's something that I've just recently in my own healing journey realized that it's really it's a real thing. And generational trauma, it can pass down. Those cycles can repeat themselves. Women who are, your mother, if your mother was a victim of domestic violence, a lot of times that can get trickled down into the generations below. We as children, we subconsciously register that type of behavior as acceptable, and we find ourselves in those situations. And then if you keep doing it, then your children below, and so on and so on, and then you just got this really bad cycle of trauma that is generational. And so I wanted to highlight the fact that you realize you seen that, and you were like, I don't want to continue this cycle, so I have to break it. And you were even helping that with, relatives that weren't necessarily blood. You mentioned, stepchildren and, things like that. So it's a real thing.
Well, yeah. And obviously with the Funk family, everybody to me is family that wants to be a part of my family, because I had a limited family growing up. So if you choose to be a part of my family, absolutely come on in. Like, that's and I guess because we did grow up in a blended family, because my mom left and we had a replacement. She had kids, so we even the people that I grew up with as sisters, brothers, aunts, and uncles, most of those people are not blood. And that's why basically, the second I turned 18, family disintegrated because people had to choose sides. So anybody who chooses to be family absolutely is accepted. And that's my big thing.
Yes, I love that. That's like what you're creating with the Funk is a whole community, a family of people who just want to connect and, be great. And so did you you mentioned arts. Was this something when did that come up for you, when you realized that this is something that I want to be part of? I know you do belly dancing too, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So belly dancing became a dream at 8 years old, so 2 years after I started my first business. And I saw a belly dancer. I grew up in Ventura, California, so there was a belly dancer on the beach performing at one of the street festivals or whatnot. I just stood there amazed, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do that when I grow up.
Yeah.
Like, I have to do that when I grow up. And of course, I did not realize how much work it takes to become a belly dancer. I actually went to do an audition thinking, oh yeah, I know how to dance. I've been dancing for years. And she's like, well, why don't you stop by the class first and check it out? And I came in, there's 30 people in that class, and I hid in the back because they were doing moves I'd never seen before. And it's muscle isolation and control and patience and persistence. But it was something I wanted to do. And I guess that's kind of the bottom line with all of this. If you have a strong desire to do something, follow that dream. You're going to go through hardships in life, no matter who you are. I call some of my friends unicorn people because they straight up tell me to my face they have never been through any type of trauma. Their grandparents bought them ponies when they were little. Wow. Everything in their life has just been amazing. And I'm just like, that's why I love you. I cannot say that I am not jealous.
Right.
But that's why I love you, because you beam positivity, because you've never been hurt. And I hope it stays that way forever and ever, because that's what I want for everybody. And I guess nature stems from what I went through, but also I like to believe I had that before I went through the trauma, but, I don't even have memories really before that.
Right.
So, you know, apparently I did go around when I was 5 years old telling people, don't touch me, I'm a star.
Huh?
I don't ever remember being that or having that much confidence in myself back then. But I found out when I got these tattoos on my wrist.
That's where it came from.
And so I got the tattoos, and well, after I got them, all of my relatives, did you know you used to do this? Nobody told me the story before I got the tattoos. And then I got the tattoos, and they're like, did you know you used to walk around like that? I'm like, no, I did. Oh, yes, you did. Like, okay. Oops. My bad.
That's awesome.
But yeah. So, belly dancing was a dream at 8 years old. And then I actually got offered my first modeling job at 11 for a gospel magazine.
Oh.
So, yeah. Apparently one day when I rode up on my skateboard in a white dress, they saw an angel flying in, and they
were like, "We
wanted
gotta
me
have
to
her."
be in their magazine. And it was, again, they were my candy customers, so I knew them. I sold candy all the time, so I don't know if it was just that white dress on that day, but the lady that ran the place went and talked to my mom and was, I want her to shoot for our magazine. So my mom just dropped me off at her house and left me there at 11 years old, and I did my first photo shoot with them. I mean, she wasn't a random stranger. Like I said, I knew her, but still, most moms probably wouldn't do that.
No.
So I did my first photo shoot at 11, and then we shopped a lot at Limited 2. I don't know if that place is still around.
Yeah. I remember
they wanted us to.
too.
So they asked us to come out to, my sister and I, to come out to Los Angeles and do a modeling gig for them. But my mom didn't want to drive to Los Angeles because it was 2 hours away from where we lived.
Wow.
So that was that for until I turned 18. And then, of course, pretty much all the time after that, people that I was selling candy to before I was 18, have you ever thought about modeling? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I'm so weird looking. Like, why are you asking me this? I don't understand. And then, I turned 18, and, people were like, yeah, you should come do this. I'll pay you. And I'm like, that's so weird. But then people were just taking my pictures on the street. People would call out to me from the freeway, hey, Candy Girl, like I was small town famous. And so it was like, okay, well, I guess if people want to pay me for my picture, like, whatever. And my stepmom actually had always thrown Vogue in my face. And, this is, when you're not watching the world is watching you. And she was bipolar. So that was one of the struggles of growing up with her. On one second, oh, you can be the next, and I guess we didn't even have America's Next Top Model. It was back in Claudia Schiffer days, Linda Evangelista. So every time Linda Evangelista was on a magazine cover, I had just gotten that haircut. So I don't know if my stepmom saw the magazine and then took me to get the haircut and then showed me it and was like, oh my God, look, you're so fashionable. But anyway, she kind of groomed me for that, taught me how to catwalk, do all of that stuff. But then I never got tall enough to be a runway model. So I just, did small town local modeling, stuff like that, went to photo days, bikini modeling, things like that. And then here I am again at 40 when I kind of really seriously, like, I started going to LA and stuff at 24. So it was already, what are you doing here? Like, you're old, like you're overweight. People would call me a plus size model all the time at size 6. Wow. I was just like, are you serious? Right. And so, like, just like you see in all the magazines, it was like, if you're not a size 2 and bony. But again, for me, after everything I had been through, it's like, I'm going to be me. I don't want to look like the 5,000 other girls sitting here starving themselves literally for attention. Like, if you want to take a picture of me, who I am, as I am, sweet. If you don't, there's 5,000 other people to choose from. So that was,
That's awesome that you recognize. It's awesome that you recognize that you had a unique individuality to yourself and a unique look to yourself, that you didn't want to, succumb to the mold that they say that we have to fit. And so do you teach the belly dancing? Like, you're a teacher now, right?
Yes. Yeah, I
Tell me
just
about
added new classes
that.
at City Fitness here in Lexington. I also teach at a yoga studio and a health shake place. So
What?
Star Nutrition in Welcome, North Carolina.
Awesome.
It's
Wow.
part of the, I don't know, they're all part of a community that sell those little healthy shakes with the, what is it for your face? Like, not Botox, but it's like a liquid that goes in the drink
Oh,
that like
interesting. I don't
improves the
know.
elasticity in your face. So it helps you
Interesting.
make you look younger and glowy
Oh.
and stuff like that.
Oh,
So yeah,
okay.
but yeah, I only dance. I don't exercise.
like,
I'm not
"I
a
just
very
do
healthy
dance."
person. Yeah, I dance. That's how I stay in shape as much as I can. But again, yeah, I'm just kind of natural. I let myself fluctuate. I just take life as it comes because I learned a long time ago I don't have control over it. But yeah, anyways.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So
so
cool.
belly
Yeah.
dancing, I am still modeling 40 years later, still making magazine covers, which is a heck of a lot easier than it used to be, obviously, in this Instagram era.
Yeah.
I used to get my photos from a dark room.
Yeah, yeah. No,
So,
it's a lot.
that's how long I've been doing that. And then I, through modeling, fell into photography. So I also do that, but I don't charge for that. I did my first wedding in April. That was amazing, but also very long, hot, hard day. So yeah, I mean, I am involved in all these different aspects of creativity, which is why I get to network with all these other creatives.
Yeah.
And oh, my original belly dancing teacher actually does, I don't know if you saw on my website, all the custom rhinestone shoes.
Yes, I
and
see
the
that.
So my original belly dance teacher, I started with her in 2007. She makes all of those
That's
and
awesome.
sells those on her website. She now has graduated to pole fitness. She has to have both of her knees replaced. So now she does the majority of her dancing with her arms. And she's about 10 years older than me, and yeah, she will put 20-year-olds to shame. Like, she is just like a true inspiration. And why, yeah, just another reason I continue to do what I do, and a friend that's been there for me for the
Yeah.
last 15 years. So
Awesome.
she does that. She does the custom beading on the denim products. She makes the gratitude fairy. So again, if you become a part of my life and my family, then yeah, we work together forever and build a long-lasting relationship. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the bottom line, is no matter where you know me from or how we got to know each other, like, I plan to keep you as a part of my life and,
Yeah.
always work to improve
That's
each
so
other's
awesome.
lives.
And why do you think it's so important that you cultivate a community of people that are similar, like not necessarily like-minded, but just similar in like what you want out of life? Like, what's the importance of surrounding yourself with people like that?
So, for the last 2 years, and again, my belly dance teacher actually introduced me to Napoleon Hill. And I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's from the 1900s, and he has been teaching positive mindset since the 1900s. And when I first saw his video, yeah, it's just an old like sepia tone video, and it has kind of that Benny Hill kind of comedy to it, but just the way he speaks is so inclusive. His stories are about women and men and, everybody. They're not exclusive, where a lot of, the success stories, and obviously things are changing, but a lot of the older stuff is based on predominantly, older white males being successful. And so Napoleon Hill being an older white male, but talking to everybody and not talking from any religious perspective or any sexist perspective, just telling people the one and only thing that you need to have success and riches in life is a positive mindset. All you have to do is believe in yourself. That's it. There's not like a lot of hard work involved there, as long as you believe in something and have a desire. And that's kind of, the key to religion and a lot of other things. as long as you believe in it, then yeah, that's the truth for you. So if you desire to have $5 million in your bank account, make that the truth for you.
Are
Set
you
your
still
mind
with
on
me? I
it.
think
Be
we are.
positive.
There's like
Figure
a
out how to
lag.
get it. And it's just, that's what I've been doing for the last 2 years. And that's, to me, that's what's connected me to people like you. That's given me this opportunity to now speak to a huge audience, not just one person at a time or 10 people at a time, you know? So this is, I mean, just, yeah, manifesting and being positive and believing that you are good enough, that you do deserve things. Because, yeah, I mean, that was the hardest thing for me. And it took me so long, but in just 2 short years, my life has changed so much for the better. And just because I started to realize all the things I already had to be grateful for. Like I said, when I was younger, it was like, you don't know, like, I can't afford this, I can't afford that. You're telling me to be grateful for waking up every day. Why? Why would I want to wake up, you know? And it's like, yeah, looking back now, it's like, well, yeah, you had somebody that cared enough to tell you that. You had
Right.
people all around you that were supporting you that you didn't even know. Just because strangers loved you more than your family, strangers loved you. Like,
Yeah.
were there creepy strangers? Absolutely. But were there strangers that loved me and protected me from those other strangers? Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if it didn't always work out that way, and yeah, there's a lot of bad people out there, but again, I think if you believe, and it is true, there are more good people out there. Those stories don't make it to the news because that's not as entertaining. However, we do have, yeah, again, I think everything is evolving. People disagree with me. Oh, I want the good old days. And it's like, what, when we murdered people in the street?
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
no.
thanks.
It's like, no, I think we're growing in the right direction.
Yeah.
I mean, we show great times of bonding and strength when it's important.
Most
and I think people
definitely.
come together, you know, when it's most necessary. Yeah, we have these petty little drama fights and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But I think when it's truly, really important, people come together and they do good things. And again,
Absolutely.
most people are doing it without the recognition because the recognition sometimes is what causes the negativity. And it's
Right.
like, sorry, excuse me, even this, it's like, yes, I'm very excited and very proud to do this, but will it maybe backfire in some ways? Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I mean, just like raising money for domestic violence or for cancer. And I guess that's been one of the hardest things for me when I do fundraiser events, seeing people, oh, I don't have time, or saying they're going to have time and then just not showing up. And it's like, you understand people are in hospital beds with tubes tied to them and stuff, and you can't take time out of your, okay, I'm grateful, I'm gonna be me.
Yeah.
Like, you be you.
Most
You know, and
definitely.
it's, yeah,
Like
just,
that shifting the perspective and trying not
Yeah.
to focus on the negativity, I think is such a great takeaway
Exactly.
from that. And I love the manifesting the life that you want, really truly believing that you are capable of doing anything that you set your heart and mind to. Such a great outlook on that. Oh my goodness. Yes. I do have 2 questions that I like to ask all of my guests. So if you are ready, we're going to jump right into those. What would be
Okay.
the best piece of advice that you would give a younger version of yourself who is in the thick of struggle if you had a few moments with them?
acknowledge how many people truly love you.
Yes.
And maybe, yeah, I just struggle so much because knowing most of us do not listen to advice.
To
It's like,
advice,
I guess
especially
that's-
younger.
Right. Right. And that's why it's like, for me, I just am trying to be the best example I can be.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to sound righteous or tell anybody what to do. And so, yeah. And with therapy, have had some good therapists and some not so good therapists. So yeah, they're like, take your little 5-year-old self around with you. And it's like, okay, but then I'm talking to an imaginary little person in public. I think that's going to make me look more disturbed than the problem I'm trying to fix. And
Yeah.
everybody is different. Everybody
Yes.
is unique. So again,
Absolutely.
advice for people depends on the struggle that they're facing. But yeah, for me personally, I guess would be acknowledge all the people that are actually there for you
Yeah.
and do love you.
I think because it's easy, especially
yeah,
in the middle of struggling, you know, we feel like the world is just kind of like putting so much pressure on us, but just being able to, you know, and I always like this question because I feel like, yes, we can say that to our younger version, but there's so many people that can benefit from those messages that we give, and just realizing that, you know, there are so many people that do love you. And if you don't feel like you have that in your life, like, reach out to the community, like find a community of people that make you feel valuable and loved. And, you know, we can pick our friends, we can pick our family. I honestly believe that. And so, you know, taking that and just surrounding yourself with people that do love you. And, you know, and also at the same time, like making sure that those people that we care about realize and feel the love that we have for them too. Cause I think that that's important as well. You never know what someone's going through.
Something I mean, I guess, again, balance for me. I obviously wear my heart on my sleeve, but
that one too, right there. Look, mine's on my wrist, so
that's awesome. Yeah, so it's you know, just balance. I feel like it just depends on who you're dealing with, because yeah, when I was younger, I gave love too freely and got my heart torn apart. And now I have this stone wall up around it that I now have to chip away at. So the healing process is long and hard, and I don't know if it ever stops.
I don't think it does.
But
I think
I'm glad
it's a journey.
to be in the process. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
That's a great outlook for sure. Okay. And so my last question is we like to talk about power and not thinking of that as a bad thing. How would you think of, or how would you describe the type of power that you try to step into every day?
Power of positivity.
Yeah.
That's, just been, my biggest thing, like I said. And I think that is what helped me survive so long. And like I said, just always having the perspective of knowing I was going to get through it. And, you know, obviously not an ideal situation to just be surviving, but I don't think if I'd had the positivity that I had, because I wouldn't make the connections with the customers, I wouldn't have had that support if I had not been a loving person, if those people did not feel love back for me. So, you know, I mean, like I said, I had whole families. I actually went back one time and a lady jumped out of the car while her husband was reversing out of a parking spot. Like, she jumped out of the car in motion because she realized it was me back 3 years later, and came over to give me a hug. Like, oh my God, where have you been? I've been so worried about you. You know, this is somebody I hadn't seen in 3 years. She's got kids of her own. But yeah, I mean, when you go back, those people still care about you. And so that's the hardest thing for me, is knowing that I didn't necessarily maintain a lot of those relationships because of what I was going through. And yeah, that's the biggest thing, like you said, is giving back the love. That is very important, because a lot of us, are very selfish like that. Well, don't you love me? I need to be loved. Where's
I need
my
to feel
love?
like
but
I'm
you have
loved.
to give. Yes, you have to give it to receive it as well. So that, that is very important.
Yes. And I know I personally struggle with that. I will, you know, with family, with friends, air quote friends, you know, I'm like, well, I haven't heard from them. Why haven't they checked on me? And, you know, realizing that that's a two-way street. Like, you know, the amount of energy that I put into somebody is only going to be reciprocated if I'm, you know, giving that. And sometimes, you know, I'm on a self-awareness journey. So like when you are aware of like yourself, then you say, okay, well, I can't be mad at this person for not, you know, making me feel a certain way, or, you know, being the friend that I think that they should be, when I haven't really necessarily been that friend. I'm over here going, well, why doesn't anybody want to be my friend? Or why doesn't, you know, so-and-so call me or whatever? Well, if I'm not, you know, calling them and letting them know that I care about them and I love them, then I can't really expect that in return. So I had this conversation with my husband the other day. So I'm glad that we are talking about it here, because I think it's an important thing that, you know, we realize that it's it's a circle. Like, what you put out will come back to you. And, and if you find out that you're putting that energy into a friendship or a family, and it's not being reciprocated, then you can say, okay, I need to let that go. This is not, doing any growth for me. This is, bringing me turmoil because I'm constantly upset about this situation. So I'm going to let it go and, just move on. And like I said, pick your friends, pick your family. So
yeah. Yep. Had the same conversation with my husband. And it's sometimes you don't realize it till you're giving the advice to somebody else, and you hear yourself giving that advice. You're like, oh, I know that. Oh, shoot, I better pay attention.
Yeah.
So I mean, and that's what's great about this journey. So thank you for letting me share part of it with you.
Absolutely. It's been such an honor talking to you. Again, I love what you're doing and what you're creating. I will make sure that I link all of your social media stuff. So if anyone's interested in what you've got going on, and if they say, hey, I want to be a part of that, especially if you're local, she's around the area all the time, so you can definitely connect with her that way. But thank you so much, Joylyn, for being on. It's been such a pleasure. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I want to thank my guests again for sharing their incredible story of transformation with us. I have linked their social medias below in the show notes so that you can give them a follow through their journey. Also, don't forget to check out the art that goes along with each week's episode at iampower.club. If you personally feel connected to the art and you would like to purchase a limited edition print that goes along with it as your own reminder to step into your power, you can do so at our website. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at I Am Power Club, on TikTok at I Am Power Club, and of course, YouTube at I Am Power. And don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss next week's episode of I Am Power. See you then.